And then finally we're going to take the last two. So that's the last one in this and the last one in this.
So that would be -6.
Cool. Can we combine anything with that?
Yes.
What do you get?
-12 and 30.
Perfect. What do you get?
Alright, so then you'd get 18c left. So it'd be 60c squared plus 18c minus 6.
Outstanding. You can just write that down right in the answer there. I'll keep this as your work that you've done. We'll frame that, probably put it in the Louvre or somewhere. So now what about this?
Don't you have to distribute the square root among all the contents?
So we said we had x squared, right? And you said you could expand that out.
Yes.
What do we expand that out to?
X times x.
X times x. Okay, so what happens if we have x plus 1 squared?
So then that'd be x squared plus 1 squared. Which
Ah.
is the 1.
But it's the whole quantity we're squaring. What it is, it's x plus 1 times x plus 1. Do you recognize that now?
Yes, yes, I do.
What's that something we can do to?
You can just square it.
Wait,
Yeah.
what do we call it? What do we learn with the term? Keep the aliens out?
Oh, foil.
Foil it. So why don't you expand that out and write it out and then foil it for me?
Okay, so it'd be 5h minus 3 times 5h minus 3 again.
Great. What do you get?
So let me do the first. It would be 5h times 5h, which would be 25h. Outsides, so it'd be 5h times -3, so -15h. Insides, it'd be -3 times 5, -15h again. And then the last, which would just be 9, since you multiply negatives.
I like all 4 of those terms except for one.
Which one?
That first one. You're really close. You're on the right track.
Oh, 25h squared.
There you go. Excellent. Perfect. So now can you combine anything?
Yes.
What can you combine?
-15h and -15h again.
Excellent. So what are you going to get?
-30h.
So your final answer is going to be?
25h squared minus 30h plus 9.
Got it. And so we use the FOIL for that. Now here's the key, is that FOIL doesn't mean you use FOIL for everything for this. It just means it's one tool to realize when you have 2 binomials. F, outside, inside, and last. And if you're clever, and I know you are, you can actually do that outside and that inside together in one fell step. Because you know they're going to be like terms. We know they're going to be like terms because we have the same thing. We're multiplying. We're not squaring h's, and we're not doing anything else like that. We're creating like terms. So, for example, this one. Let's do the O and the I together. We'll do an OI. So what's your F?
X.
What's your F?
Oh, first.
First, X times X is?
X squared.
Write that down. Now, think about your outside and your inside. What's your outside?
1.
What's your outside when you multiply the 2 outsides together?
Oh, 1x.
And your inside?
1x.
Can you combine those 2 in your head?
Yes, 2x. Just do plus 2x.
Mm-hmm. And then?
Last, which would be 1 plus 1, so that'd be plus 2.
Mm-hmm. We're multiplying.
Oh, so that'd just be plus 1.
There you go. Excellent. So remember, it's a combination of there's some multiplication and there's some addition in there. The multiplication, we can combine unlike terms, multiply them. The addition part, we can only combine just the like terms. Cool? So, when you get done, you end up with a trinomial. And a trinomial in 3 parts like this is typically going to have, that's going to be your F. That middle term then is going to be your OI. OI. And then that term is going to be your L. F, OI, L. Because at some point, we're going to give you this. and you have to break it down into two binomials. So in order to do that, you're going to have to unfoil it. You're going to have to realize that if we get an x squared plus 2x plus 1, you have to realize that my first times my first has to equal x squared. And the only things that will multiply to x squared are
Those x's.
x and x. So when we do, we can toss down some parentheses here and say, oh, I have to have x and x, because that's the only thing that will multiply to x squared. Then you can realize, well, if this is positive, that means our last two multiplied together equal a positive number. So my signs here and here have to be the same, because only a positive times a positive would be a positive, or a negative times a negative would make a positive. So you know the signs have to be the same.
Yep.
And you know that when you take your outside and inside and add them together, the answer has to be positive too. And if the signs are the same, the only signs that will make a positive when it comes out of it are plus and plus. The last two have to multiply to 1, and the only thing that will multiply to 1 is
1.
cool.
Just get back to your original equation.
Exactly right. So let's take and expand that. X squared plus 3x plus 2. And I'd like you to unfoil that for me. So what are you going to do first?
Oh, yeah.
I would hammer down a couple of parentheses. Absolutely correct. Put it down like you're being bold about it. Cool. So what do you know about the first two terms?
This can only be x's. So it has to be an x here, and an x there.
Great. What about the last two terms?
Well, the signs have to be positive to get to a positive number, which they are.
Okay. So can you put in those signs?
Yes.
Cool. And what about those last two numbers, this and this? What do they have to multiply to?
2.
Do you know any factors of 2? Remember we did factoring? Remember where we talked about factoring and you hated it?
Yes.
And you were mad about it? This is where it comes in handy.
Okay, so it'd just be 1 and 2.
Does it matter where you put them?
No,
Not in this case, because we have both pluses and both of our coefficients, our leading terms, are going to be the same.
Yeah. So that teaches 2.